Alright everyone, here's an American's reaction to being in the Netherlands. Mostly Amsterdam, but not entirely. It's mostly positive. I had a great time for the most part. Of course, spent a week over there. For the most part, we were staying in Sloterdijk, which is a very, very funny... Yes, I joked frequently about the place names of some of the places over there. Learned some dirty words and stuff. I'm going to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'll start with the more negative side, which is fairly scant, so don't get me wrong here, I'm just sort of getting it out of the way. For the most part, I really enjoyed it, and, you know, definitely I'll be traveling there again. I'd say the worst thing about the entire country is your airport. Schiphol Airport, actually. I don't know who designed it. I assume that it was after you started allowing people to, drink heavily and use marijuana products, because they had to have been drunk and high in order to have designed an airport like this. Now, keep in mind, I land right in the middle of their fuel problem, which is causing the airport to lock up, and some people are like sleeping there for several days to make their flight. So it's causing mass cancellations and havoc. So it's 10 times more crowded than normal. It's right in the middle of a massive heat wave, which means that the airport is extremely hot. Because for some reason, and this is really number two, the Dutch have not invented air conditioning yet. Now, I'm a Vermonter, so like, yeah, 100 degrees is relatively hot. There, it's more of a humid heat. It's not like in Texas. Don't fucking get me started. I've seen 120-degree temperatures and been able to wear a long-sleeve shirt and everything, and it's no problem sitting out in the sun. That's dry heat. The Netherlands is not a dry country. What is the Netherlands? The Netherlands is an expanse of low-lying field and swamp that's been partially drained and dammed up in order to create a country. So it's fairly humid, quite hazy. It hits 100 degrees and you've got no air conditioning in any of the trams or in your airport. The first thing that happened when I got to the country was I got lost in the airport. Because the other thing is directions are not entirely clear. I know that they're bilingual and people there go out of their way to help like stupid American tourists like me, so to speak. And that was very helpful. And that was the first good thing about it is everyone's very communicative, very helpful. I appreciated that. But why is it that you'll have a sign that says, oh, this terminal's this way, and it says, like, it has a straight arrow, but then by straight they mean go 10 feet and then turn to the right, down a corridor, or go 20 feet and turn to the left, or follow a 45-degree incline. It doesn't make any sense. Toilets, and it'll be pointing to not a toilet, but downstairs where there's supposedly toilets underneath. I didn't understand it. It didn't make any fucking sense. The transiting system in the airport, unfortunately, is also replicated in terms of above ground throughout Amsterdam. So your tram and train system is a little confusing and a little dangerous. Specifically bike lanes. Bikers will not swerve to avoid you. Like in the US, if you go out into the road, for the most part, people will try to avoid hitting you. In the Amsterdam, it seems like in the Netherlands, it's the opposite. Like I almost got hit at the beach. Literally, like 5 minutes before I recorded that gay pride video that I did, a bus had come through, and I thought that the area was just for walking. I figured it was just sort of a boardwalk area, but no, it's a road. That's the other thing, of course. Roads are not marked the same way they are in the United States, so sometimes the color of cobblestone tells you where you can and cannot walk. Could be dangerous. Now, I was the only American tourist not to get drunk or high in Amsterdam, and so, like, I guess I was more with it. But sleep-deprived me, stumbling through the airport, it took me, an hour and a half in order to find where the fuck I was supposed to go. It was that confusing. Now, with all of that out of the way, and most of that's amusing more than it is strictly negative, here are some positive points. The Dutch are very laid back. Amsterdam is extremely calm for a big city. Like you feel at ease. Like, yeah, you can guard your pocket, but I do that, when I'm walking down the street anywhere, so it's not unique. Clean for the most part. For the most part, the Amsterdam is pristine and spotless by city standards. For a city of 700-some thousand people, it's extremely clean, and it's extremely well run and safe and very relaxed. The food is excellent, and you've got a mix of food the likes of which you can't believe. I ate 5 different cultures' foods while I was there. Dutch food, like the croquette and the bitterballen and stuff, which, by the way, bitterballen, if you don't try that when you're there, you're crazy. It's excellent. Eat it with mustard. You can try it with ketchup, but it's not necessary. I had, a kebab and stuff like that shawarma. which, by the way, is everywhere. That's the other thing. Here's another thing. The restaurants are multicultural. Like, there's this place in Sloterdijk called Marmaris. It's right across from the Mercure Hotel, which, by the way, is actually where we were staying. We made sure not to tell anybody that. Somebody guessed we were staying in Sloterdijk. You were actually right, which is technically, like, it's part of Amsterdam now, but it got gobbled up by the city. It used to be its own little village. It's a nice place. It feels like a college campus. By the way, everyone in the Netherlands seems young. I'll get into that a little bit in a minute. Anyway, there's this place called Marmaris. And I think it's run by, like, Tunisians or something, but they've got, like, Italian food, standard, like, pan-Mediterranean food, like pizza and stuff, and then they've got, like, you know, kebab and shawarma. Shawarma you can get it practically at McDonald's. I mean, do they have, like, a McShawarma menu or something like that? So, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm trying, you know, Arabic food, and there's Greek and Italian, Turkish food, Dutch food traditionally, Italian. There's Indonesian food, food from, Suriname. I know there are a lot of people of Suriname descent in the Netherlands because it used to be a Dutch colony. Excellent food. Like, even the one thing that sucked was one time we were hungry, we ordered Domino's, me and Liz. And Domino's over there sucks dick, to tell the truth. Like, if you're in the Sloterdijk area, like at the Mercures, don't order Domino's. Their pizza fucking sucked. Get Marmaris, a little more expensive, but size-wise is more American portions, which I think it's right next to a hotel and a transit center, so there's probably a certain crowd it caters to. Excellent fucking fries, excellent fucking everything. That was the best restaurant when we were there, and it was right across from the hotel. But no, as far as Dutch people, another thing I've noticed, overall rather athletic and fit. Like, it's not actually a stereotype like the Dutch really are. I think it's because they bike everywhere, generally very physically fit. They are taller, I've noticed, than like the average American. Now, of course, I'm 6'2". I'm still tall even by Dutch standards for male. I think the average there is like 6 foot or 5'11" or something, which is pretty tall. But I felt a little bit less tall than normal, which was interesting for me. The trams are fun, the food being good. There are bikes clamped to every surface. Also, I love the fact that there's gardens everywhere. Like, you'll see this little miniature gardens right out on the main street. You'll be walking by and all of a sudden there's like a couple sunflower plants. It's not a lie. Apparently people in the Netherlands really do like to garden. And even at Seaside it was similar. Like, there are little gardens and hedgerows and stuff everywhere. There's also another thing I like, and this is very much like Vermont. I was reminded of Burlington, Vermont when I got through Amsterdam. Similar style in some cases, like similar boom period architectural design, strictly Art Deco 20s and 30s era. That's common. A lot of mashups between old and new. Like in some cases, like people complain about this like online. They say, well, classical cultures are being erased by postmodernism, which is true, and I oppose that. In the Netherlands, though, they've developed, it seems, a different way of doing things. That is, that if there's an old building that needs to be retrofitted, if they include any modern design aspects, they sort of fuse it with the old. So what you get is that it looks like a sci-fi movie from the 20s. Or it looks like a modern adaptation of a 1920s steampunk world. It's incredible. I love it. So what you'll have is like some old tower from the 1600s is right next to a line of Art Deco that looks like it came out of the World Wars era, the interwar period, and then there'll be like a postmodernist level above them, like a Skyway or something. It looks like if people back in the 1920s had invented the internet, the sort of world that they would have designed. I like it. Amsterdam is aesthetically extremely pleasing. The one caveat, and I don't know why, it's so clean. Like, there's street sweepers everywhere. They're spraying down the roads and stuff, and people don't leave their cigarette butts everywhere. By the way, the Dutch need to quit smoking because there is a lot more smoking, I noticed, than there is at least here in Vermont. It is very funny. Bottles everywhere, like fucking beer bottles and water bottles and stuff. It's like people, you know, they sit down, they have a drink of Heineken, they just leave the bottle there. And I guess the city just sort of picks it up. But that means that like the bottles that I was seeing is just 24-hour periods bottle deposits. Imagine if your city services went on strike for a week. My goodness, you could repave the roads with Heineken bottles. And that's another thing. Beer is everywhere. Weed a little bit less so. I was surprised. Beer is all present. Now, as someone who quit drinking fairly recently, of course, still getting occasional cravings, it was a little bit difficult, I will admit, to sort of stay on the wagon. I had some help, thank you. Heineken ads are everywhere. I mean, fucking every kind of alcohol you could possibly imagine. Placards and bars and everything. Weed a little bit less. It's less assertive about itself. Like, there are coffee shops, they're there, but there aren't that many. And there are street vendors that do like weed stuff, but they don't have like a big neon pole that says "weed here, come smoke up." They have like the weed lollipops and the live plant cultures and stuff like that, but it's not quite so prevalent. Like, you know that it's there primarily for like tourists come, they get high, and then they wander around and do stupid shit like, you know, throw rocks at people or whatever. But it's not that intrusive, actually. I only smelled weed a few times in the entire time I was there. Less than you would smell it in Burlington. I'm thinking Vermont's the weed mecca of the world. You know, Amsterdam's been totally eclipsed in the marijuana department, but as far as alcohol, it's everywhere. There isn't, I think, a block in Amsterdam that doesn't have a bar on it. A bar, or at least a store where you can obtain alcohol. And it's like, you know, you see people wandering around Heineken all the time. Now, supposedly there's a law against, like, drinking in public. I don't really think it's particularly enforced. I think that's more for, hey, if you get unruly, we'll give you a fine, or we'll take your alcohol away and, you know, keep you overnight and sober you up. I'm pretty sure that's what that's for. Not that I'd want to fuck around with anything, but I think that's the whole point. So overall, overwhelmingly positive experience. It's like, you know, while I was there, I'm like, well, I can cross over to Germany, maybe see France. But the thing is, my YouTube channel is blocked in Germany and France, which sort of sandwich the Benelux region. Everything's fine there. I can travel around the Netherlands. I could probably become a resident of the Netherlands fairly easily, but I don't know if I can physically even enter Germany and France because of censorship, because of authoritarianism. Not that it's a big problem. I'd rather go back to the Netherlands anyway. I've had a great time. Yeah, we spent most of the time in Sloterdijk as far as, just sort of existing while there. Amsterdam's great. I really like the south end. There's a certain neighborhood, I can't remember. It's the one with the modern art sculpture I sort of took a picture of, the one of the big foot. There's a neighborhood down there that looks, it's modernist buildings, like flat tops and everything, so that's not necessarily appealing to me, but there's like gardens everywhere and hedges, little parks and stuff. Another thing I like is that you'll find little parks everywhere. And you'll find little bits of history everywhere, like literally, I can't remember, somewhere between Sloterdijk and central Amsterdam, there's like an apartment row, and there's like a placard on the side of the corner building that talks about some major Dutch figure from the 15 or 1600s, some Renaissance figure. I couldn't make out who it was. That's just like this big bronze plaque on the side of someone's home, basically. And you see stuff like that everywhere. I had a great time. So yeah, highly recommended. We'll definitely go back at some point. I think I might, next time around, so we'd probably stay in a smaller town outside of Amsterdam, just for even more laid-back experience. Just commute to Amsterdam. I mean, the trains there, they run on time. The trains are the better transit method. The trams are kind of creaky, a little crowded. They haven't invented air conditioning. That's a problem. The buses are a little better, but I don't think there's any bus to the outlying areas. But the trains connect everything in the Netherlands. The ocean's nice. There are actually hills in the Netherlands too, I learned. There just aren't that many of them. What the Dutch call a mountain, we call a foothill here in Vermont. Like I look out my front window to see a mountain. By Dutch standards, it's a little hill out there behind some houses about 100 feet tall. Yeah, I liked it. I like the country. And I didn't see any of the cultural problems sort of stuff that people talk about. When they talk about Europe in decline, it's not the Netherlands that's in decline. The UK maybe, France and Germany, some of these other authoritarian states that are grinding their populations down, seems to have bypassed the Netherlands for the most part, because I didn't see, I mean, I'm sitting in the center, the belly of the beast, so to speak, of the Netherlands, the big city there that's supposedly like diverse and stuff. Kinda, not really. And religious symbology is nowhere to be seen. Like, there is no religion in the Netherlands. It's completely godless society. I kind of like that. You know, I say that as a pagan apatheist. I'm not an atheist anymore. Interesting place to be. You should definitely consider visiting. And by the way, security there is pretty laid back too. Like, I didn't go through any extra security check. All they did is say, "Oh, how long will it be here? Oh, a week. Okay." They stamp the passport and let you in. It's like customs. Anything? No, apparently not. I like that actually. It's more laid back. But yeah, safe, clean, extremely good food. Surprisingly, very good pizza. The second best pizza I've ever had was at Marmaris in Sloterdijk. Basically, the only other thing that's better would be Leonardo's in Burlington. And like I said, Burlington and Amsterdam look similar. Burlington is a smaller Amsterdam with more weed, ironically, and hills. And that's basically what it boils down to. That's about all. Peace out.